When most people imagine the history of America, the story usually begins in 1492. A fleet of ships crosses the Atlantic. A European explorer steps onto unfamiliar shores, and suddenly, the New World is discovered. But what if that story is only the final page of a much older book? What if long before European sails appeared on the horizon, the Americas were already home to vast civilizations, complex societies, and networks of trade that stretched for thousands of miles? What if millions of people were living here, building cities, farming the land, creating art, astronomy, and political systems, while Europe was still struggling through the Middle Ages? And what if some of those civilizations grew so powerful that they rivaled the great empires of the ancient world? Tonight we step back in time, centuries before Columbus, to explore a forgotten world. A world where cities rose from the forests, where trade routes crossed mountains and rivers, and where entire civilizations flourished across the American continents. This is the story of America before Columbus. By the time Columbus reached the Caribbean in 1492, the Americas were anything but empty. Historians estimate that between 50 and 60 million people may have lived across North and South America. To put that into perspective, Europe itself had roughly the same population at the time. From the icy lands of the Arctic to the tropical rainforests of the Amazon, thousands of cultures had developed their own ways of life. Some communities were small villages of hunters and gatherers. Others became large agricultural societies supported by maize, beans, and squash, the famous Three Sisters crops that sustained civilizations for centuries. And in many places, these societies grew into powerful civilizations. In Central America, the Maya built cities with towering pyramids, advanced mathematics, and one of the most sophisticated writing systems in the ancient world. Further west, the Aztec Empire ruled a vast territory from their magnificent capital city, Tenochtitlan, a city of canals and temples that astonished the first Europeans who saw it. In South America, the Inca Empire stretched across thousands of miles of mountains, connected by an incredible network of roads. But these famous civilizations were only part of the story. Far to the north, in what is now the United States, another world existed, one that few people today realize ever existed at all. Long before European settlers arrived, North America was home to complex societies that built monumental architecture and organized large populations. Archaeologists call many of these societies the Mississippian cultures, named after the great Mississippi River system that connected their world. Beginning around the year 800 CE, these cultures began building massive earthworks, enormous pyramidal mounds made entirely of soil. These were not simple piles of dirt. They were carefully engineered structures requiring thousands of workers and years of labor. Some served as temples, some were burial sites. Others supported the homes of powerful leaders. Entire cities formed around these monumental constructions. And among them, one city rose above all others. Near the banks of the Mississippi River, in what is now Illinois, a city emerged that would become the largest urban center in North America before the arrival of Europeans. Its name today is Cahokia. At its peak around the year 1100, Cahokia may have been home to 20,000 to 40,000 people. That made it larger than many European cities of the same era. The city was carefully planned. At its heart stood Monk's Mound, a massive earth pyramid over 30 meters tall, the largest prehistoric structure north of Mexico. Around it stretched a vast plaza used for gatherings, ceremonies, and political events. Hundreds of smaller mounds surrounded the central area, forming neighborhoods, temples, and elite residences. But Cahokia was more than just architecture. It was the center of an enormous network. Artifacts found at the site revealed trade connections reaching across the continent. copper from the Great Lakes, shells from the Gulf of Mexico, stone tools from the Rocky Mountains. Cahokia was not an isolated city. It was the hub of a thriving civilization. To understand how such a civilization could exist, we must understand the geography of North America. The Mississippi River and its tributaries form one of the largest river systems on Earth. For ancient societies, rivers were highways. They allowed people to travel vast distances using canoes, carrying goods and ideas between distant communities. Through these waterways, cultures from the Great Lakes to the Gulf Coast became connected. Trade flourished, religious ideas spread, artistic styles traveled from region to region. Some archaeologists even believe that Cahokia functioned as a kind of spiritual capital, influencing societies hundreds of miles away. Symbols associated with Cahokia appear across the eastern United States in what scholars call the Southeastern Ceremonial Complex. This network of shared religious imagery hints at a culture far more interconnected than we once believed. Daily life in these societies was rich and complex. Farmers cultivated vast fields of maize along fertile river valleys. Skilled artisans shaped pottery, carved stone tools, and crafted jewelry from copper and shell. Hunters tracked deer and bison through forests and plains. Children learned traditions passed down through generations, stories explaining the origins of the world, the movements of the stars, and the sacred balance between humans and nature. Religion played a central role in society. Ceremonies were held on the great mounds. Priests and leaders oversaw rituals tied to the cycles of the sun, the seasons, and agricultural harvests. Astronomy also held great importance. Some sites contain alignments marking solstices and equinoxes, allowing ancient observers to track the passage of time. One famous structure near Cahokia, sometimes called Woodhenge, consisted of large wooden posts arranged in a circle, possibly functioning as a solar calendar. Through careful observation of the skies, these societies synchronized their lives with the rhythms of the cosmos. And yet, by the time Europeans arrived centuries later, many of these great centers had already faded. Cahokia began to decline around the year 1200. By 1350, the once great city was largely abandoned. Why did it disappear? Scholars still debate the answer. Some believe environmental pressures played a role: deforestation, soil exhaustion, or flooding along the Mississippi. Others suggest political instability or internal conflict. Climate change may also have contributed, bringing droughts that disrupted agriculture. Perhaps the truth lies in a combination of many factors. But whatever the cause, the decline of Cahokia did not mean the end of Native American civilizations. Communities continued to thrive across the continent, adapting and evolving in new ways. When Europeans eventually arrived, they encountered vibrant societies with deep histories stretching back thousands of years. For centuries, many people believed that North America had been sparsely populated before European colonization. The monumental mounds scattered across the landscape were sometimes attributed to mysterious lost races, but archaeology has gradually revealed the truth. These structures were built by the ancestors of Native American peoples who still live across the continent today. Their achievements, cities, trade networks, astronomy, agriculture, are now recognized as part of the true history of the Americas. And yet much of this history remains unfamiliar to the wider world. Entire civilizations rose and fell here long before Columbus ever sailed across the Atlantic. The more archaeologists uncover, the clearer it becomes that the Americas were home to a tapestry of cultures and societies far richer than once imagined. Cities like Cahokia were only one piece of a vast puzzle. Across river valleys, forests, deserts, and mountains, countless communities shaped the history of the continent. Some left monumental structures. Others left subtle traces buried beneath the soil. Together they tell the story of a world that thrived for thousands of years before European arrival. And many of these stories are still waiting to be discovered. But among all the civilizations of ancient North America, the cultures along the Mississippi River were among the most powerful and influential. Their cities rose like islands above the floodplains. Their leaders commanded vast networks of people and trade, and their legacy shaped the history of an entire region. In our next episode, we will explore this world in far greater detail. We will journey deep into the river systems of North America to uncover the rise of a civilization that once dominated the heart of the continent, a civilization built on rivers, trade, and sacred power, a civilization whose influence spread for hundreds of miles, the story of the Empire of the Mississippi. If you enjoyed this exploration of forgotten history, be sure to subscribe and join us for the next chapter, because the deeper we dig into the past, the more we realize. History is far richer than the stories we were first told, and some of the greatest civilizations in human history are the ones the world almost forgot.